What's up, everybody? This is the VSM Real Estate Podcast, getting you closer to massively successful players in the Twin Cities real estate market. I'm your host, André Anderson, today joined by Jared Hanowski.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. It's so good for you to be on. So for those of you that don't know, I've had Jared help me out with purchasing a couple duplexes of my own, getting started investing and everything like that. And so, I think it's just makes so much sense for you to come on.
Yeah,
and,
we've been through a couple of transactions, and I know the last one you bought that duplex off of Hiawatha.
Yeah.
So that was took a little bit longer. I believe that was a remodel loan.
Yeah.
So a little bit more entailed. Andre's a great client, though. He gets everything that we need, and ended up working out. And I hope the property's working out well for you.
Yeah. Oh no, it burned down. I'm just kidding. Got that insurance claim on the way.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Yeah. No, it's going fantastic. Just such a wonderful property, and a huge leap forward. For I guess as an investment, of course, standard of living. So definitely, the help during that entire process was super key.
Well, good.
So, and then of course I think I referred 12 people over to you.
Yeah.
Right around there.
So I've helped out a couple of I believe a couple people that have real estate licenses at VSM, right?
Yep.
And then some other clients. So I appreciate the referrals, and hopefully we can help some more clients down the line.
Of course. Yes, sir. So a lot of times whenever we have somebody coming on for the first time, we kind of want them to, kind of introduce yourself a little bit.
Sure.
You're with AMEC and everything like that. Maybe some of our listeners that are just starting out in real estate looking maybe for a traditional buying or maybe even investing, they have no idea what AMEC is, or maybe even lending is, mortgage lending. So maybe give a high-level view of that and maybe who you are as well.
Sure. So AMEC Home Loans, we're just a mortgage company in the Twin Cities, so we don't do anything besides residential mortgages. We are the largest non-bank lender in the Twin Cities. So AMEC, we're a correspondent lender, and that's not going to mean much to people out there, but that just means that we can essentially take your loan to anywhere, 30 different places. So what we do is you come in, apply with us, we're going to put you through our system and see which place is going to be the best fit. So one thing that André and I were talking about before we started, we're a boutique shop, so I own a branch that's in Egan. We have about 12 to 15 people in our branch. When you work with us, you work with us all the way from the pre-approval, the very first meeting on the phone or in person, all the way till the closing. So you don't get passed off from department to department. You work hand in hand with myself and my assistant, and we like to think that clients like that because I'm, to my wife's chagrin, I'm available 24/7, which can be good and bad, but I know it's a big process to buy a house or buy an investment property. So want to get back to people as quick as we can and answer the questions that people do have.
Yeah, no doubt. Actually, the reason why I think that we met, I remember, I was in the beginning of my investment journey. Cash was something that was really important, right? And I was having a job that I just started, and I did end up purchasing a house within 8 months of starting a job, I think. So,
right.
I was slowly building it up, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know. I feel like I don't have enough for a down payment. So I was looking and researching online, and then down payment assistance came up, and then I was looking through lenders. I think I contacted 20 different lenders.
Okay,
the reason why I chose you is because on a Tuesday night at 9:38 p.m. you responded, hey, let's hop on a call tomorrow. I'm this guy knows what's happening. He's on it.
Right.
So it works.
I feel like that's part of the deal. Just being in the industry, you got to get back to people quick. And we used a program there, which is a great program for first-time home buyers. To purchase a place with little you got to have a little bit of money, but it's $1,000 essentially where you can get into a place. So great program for people in the Twin Cities to check out.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it helps people, if they feel like they're not quite in the best situation, or that they know that they can get into a better situation. For me, I know I was looking to getting it house hacking, so it was a very efficient way,
right?
With a little cash outlay to get into something, it just worked really perfectly. But much to your wife's chagrin. But it's working. So
but that's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes I got to sneak away into another part of the house and text somebody back or shoot an email. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So you wanted me to just talk a little bit about myself.
Yeah. Yeah, like what got you into real estate? You know, like when do you started, and like was it always the mortgage lending? Was that anything else? How'd you,
I've kind of always been in the mortgage side of things. I went to college at Bemidji State. I'm actually Canadian, so I moved down to Bemidji to play hockey, met my wife, and of course ended
hockey.
up yeah, of course, yeah. Well, you're born with skates in Canada, right?
Right, yeah.
So moved down to the Twin Cities. I had a couple different jobs when I first got out of college. I was underwriting for an insurance company. Good company, but I just am not an underwriter. It was a little boring for me. I had a set salary. I had a friend that was in the mortgage industry, and he was telling me, just about the industry and everything like that. So I actually started out in the mortgage industry at a call center. But
that could have been fun.
Yeah, well, there was tons of leads,
Yeah.
and basically you could make as much, there was no salary. You would just make as much money as you could, on how you could sell. So that was something that's something that I've always liked in the mortgage industry. It's as much as you put in, as much as you're going to get out of it. And been with the current company that I own a branch with for about 6 years with Amic Home Loans, branch manager and a loan originator, and that's kind of my story. I've been in the industry now since 2006, so about 13, 14 years. Kind of came in when things were going down.
And then going down.
Kind of came down, and there were some years there that were supposed to be bad. I've never really had a too down of a year. But as things have gone on here in the last 3-4 years, the real estate market is really hot, and this year's been good.
Yeah, for sure. Why do you think that you didn't really have too much downtime, even though the world was like falling apart? Well,
I think I was too young to know things were going bad at that time. I was working in a setting where there was tons of leads, and I kind of just grinded it out. One thing that in this industry, there's a lot of chatter. You can listen to people in the media or in your office and people talking about what's happening in the marketplace. I think you just kind of got to stay focused on what you want to do. Come in every day, whatever your routine is. I think to be successful in real estate or mortgages, you have to have a routine. You have to do the same thing every week, and if you stick to that, the numbers are going to be there.
Right, for sure. Yeah, I think that, like, as soon as you said call center and, like, it's kind of like that, it's like a jungle, and you're constantly having to grind it out. I can see how, how pivotal that it probably is for you as you continue in business. I'm sure that's, like, where you got, like, a lot of the foundation of your skills for sales.
Exactly. I think that's just where you learn a bunch of stuff, and you're taking so many applications, and you're just... That was kind of almost like not a sweatshop, but I mean it was like we had a regional manager and a manager, and you had to have so many calls and so many, and if you didn't, I mean it wasn't an option not to. They would just hire somebody else. So whereas nowadays it's a little bit different. Everyone's 100% commission that works at our branch, so it's hard sometimes to say like you got to do this, this, and this, and you're not paying them a salary. So you have to have a lot of self-discipline in real estate and mortgages to be successful.
Yeah, for sure. So when you first started in Amic, how was like? Did you just become kind of like an owner of a branch and then like go from there, or did you kind of get in like through Amic and then started growing the business, and like what was that journey like?
So at Amic, I did just own a branch right away, but to back up from there, I was at a different mortgage company before, and I took a team of guys there. I wasn't the owner of the branch. Guy had me running the branch. He was a genius. He was about 30 years old, and he found me and he said, "Hey, why don't you run the branch for me, and I'll give you a little bit of a commission on top of everybody." Right. He wasn't at the branch for 2 years. I'm sure he was still making some decent money.
Just on the beaches in the Maldives
or
something
I don't know.
Like that.
Good guy, but smart. And so I didn't want to take the risk to own the branch myself. And then after a couple of years, I said, well, geez, I should just probably do this myself. So got my own place down in actually in Lakeville, had a couple guys, and then was with that mortgage company, and then transferred over to Amic a couple of years later and joined up with a business partner of mine.
Oh, that's awesome! Yeah. What were like some of the most pivotal lessons that you learned? For the genius, kind of beach dweller guy that was just feet up and like running things. What was some of like the biggest lessons that you learned that kind of carry over to how you run your business today?
I think, going back to just, making sure that you're putting the work in every day.
Mm-hmm.
Did learn that you got to make sure that you're hiring good people, because that can be very costly when you're hiring the wrong people. It just takes so long to train somebody up, and then they're in that position, and all of a sudden something happens. It's maybe not the right fit, so you have to look for somebody new.
Yeah.
We've had the same staff now for quite a few years, so that's pivotal in having a successful branch, just that you're not having the turnover in your operations staff. So I think hiring good people, being self-disciplined, and one thing too that I tell people, just working. I mean, a saying that my business partner has, he told me, work works. So sometimes there's just so much flexibility in the mortgage and real estate world, just because it's 100% commission. Well, people don't work,
as much as they should,
and I'm not saying you got to come in 9 to 5, but you got to be putting the work in, to have success.
Right, for sure. Yeah, and it's really hard, as you kind of said before, because especially if someone's 100% commission, they know, they'll see their bank account if they're not, working, and so they have to keep themselves self-accountable, and you can't really harp on them because if they're not really performing, and they're not changing, that's they're kind of okay with it, but if you're not okay with it, then you gotta, try to work it out and whatnot. So I always hear people say, slow to hire but quick to fire. Is that kind of your motto or something like that now, or is that kind of the mindset that
I agree with that.
You kind of need?
I think if a change needs to be, take place, that you got to do it quick instead. I mean, it's tough too, because we've had situations where we kind of, we're real slow to do things, and it's because it's tough, right? I mean, everyone's human, and there's emotions, that go along with dealing with people. But yeah, for sure, quick to fire, because if things aren't working out, you need to make that change quick.
Pivot.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that that's very insightful. Maybe it's a little higher level than if people are just kind of starting out that are listening, but maybe the people that are business owners and all that kind of stuff, I think could find value in that. I know, looking forward, eventually I want to own businesses, everything like that. So any kind of information on that kind of stuff, I always try to eat up and okay, I'll try to save that for the future.
And some of the most successful people, at our company, they actually have coaching, and I don't do professional coaching. I've thought about it. It probably wouldn't hurt, but a lot of them that do, they literally fill out a sheet every week. So it has, you have to have 15 face-to-face meetings. You have to have 40, telephone calls. You have to contact 50 people of your past clients. And those people that do that diligently every week, I mean, their numbers speak for themselves. So it's just all about self-discipline, I think, and keeping the same routine.
Yeah,
now, obviously, you have to have some characteristics in there to be successful. You can't be, a lump on a log. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
for sure, a lump on a log. Yeah, that's awesome. So what was kind of the mindset shift for moving, as a branch manager, or not, kind of managing that one, or maybe the couple, mortgage companies into actually owning your own business? And is there is this something that you continue doing? Are you investing in real estate, or looking at purchasing other businesses in the future, or what kind of what are you looking for?
So at that point in my career, I just thought, because it's a little bit of a leap. You're 100% responsible for every bill that comes through your branch. So, so there's a lot of responsibility and some nerves that go along with that when you first start out. Obviously, some additional, some initial overhead costs that you have to think about. So when I got to that point, I just thought it was I could do it. And I'm sorry, what was the second question you had?
Oh, I guess just kind of going into business ownership and I guess maybe
owning maybe some. We've tried to own some. We had a place in North Dakota that we had a branch in North Dakota. We had one in actually down in south of Nashville. And we had another one in Iowa. And the kind of the the ones that are not around here, it's kind of tough to do.
The satellite branches.
branches. So we don't have any at the moment.
Is that why you're in Nashville? Taking a look?
No, I wish. No, I was just down there for fun.
Okay.
So We had the one in North Dakota for quite a while because the oil was booming up there, so we opened a branch up there.
Yeah, for sure.
And that was okay. That lasted about 4 years, but it was never hugely successful like we thought it was going to be.
Okay.
And it came down to you have to have the right people.
Right. For sure.
But yeah, we've definitely dabbled in some of that stuff. I haven't dabbled in any real estate yet as far as purchasing anything and doing a flip.
Yeah.
I did have an investment property I bought it in 2009 and I just sold it this year. But I sold it. Yeah, I sold it myself to the tenant.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but I'm always interested in people that do that.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you seeing out there right now for people that want to get into investing in real estate? Is it a good time to do it? Obviously you got to find the right property.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely have to find the right property. It also is very specific to what your goals are. So a lot of people are always worried, like when people will just kind of like message me, text me or message me over Facebook, et cetera, and they're like, hey, what do you think of the market right now? And I'm like, or like they'll say, hey, I think prices are really high. Like, what do you think about, something? Yeah, sure, maybe prices are a little higher than like your parents bought, 20, 30 years ago or whatever, or you see that in the news the prices are climbing or, but of course, like interest rates are incredibly low. So for the buy side, I always kind of make the claim that it's a fantastic time to buy because those interest rates are quite low. So if you're buying a primary residence, you can, especially in the Twin Cities real estate market, you can expect things to appreciate. Of course, not guaranteed, but those home values are very likely to appreciate over time. If you're going to be holding for more than 7 years, especially if you're like looking at it as an investment, the interest rates are incredibly pivotal because you're looking for the delta or that spread and gap between your rent and income and like what did it cost you to borrow money, right? So if you're holding for a long time, especially if it's kind of like that in the residential sector, where you're not, and you can have a fixed rate loan, then like play all day, what I mean? As long as the deal makes sense. But that said, of course, it's the professionals are out, right? So they're the ones that are creating the deals that are getting stuff done. Yeah, so like people that, especially if you're getting started, multifamily is a great opportunity. It is quite hot, of course, and there's a lot of competition on it. But if you look at the numbers, you could probably pay, if you're paying, like $1,300 in rent or whatever, and you can buy a multifamily property and get the same or even better standard of living for like $200 per month that you're paying in rather than the $1,300. That's just $1,100 in savings that you could funnel into.
That's some cash flow.
That's some cash flow. So even if you're not living for free, which you could maybe a couple of years ago or with the right deal, you can still sometimes now, depending. Just looking at that gap that you're making and the difference that you're making, like if you're thinking about like putting it into stocks, let's say, like hey, I have like $10,000 I'll put into stocks, and then like what's your return, like or your return on investment there? I'm sure it's not going to be $1,100 per month. So it's like,
for sure.
You have to like
spit out $1,100 dividend every month.
Exactly. So like if you're thinking, or even like let's say that you had a down payment of like $20,000 or $30,000. If you put that into a real estate opportunity where you can make that difference in your cutting your expenses, rather than collecting like 4% of like to $20,000, over the years or whatever, like it's completely different.
That's a big difference.
It's way different. So that's kind of my mentality, like taking a look at it as much as possible. And of course, it's a great time to sell too. So you're like kind of in the because like prices are quite high. If you had a lot of equity, kind of sitting in there from whenever you bought it. A lot of our clients actually were hit during the Great Recession, and they were like, well, things are underwater and like lost a job or all that kind of stuff. So renting out the property was a way to avoid foreclosure or avoid kind of like that financial hardship. We've been helping a lot of our clients sell their homes because there's a lot more
are you seeing a lot
now.
of people, what do we call unexpected landlords that are selling their properties now?
Exactly, So, it's, of course, maybe it's a little biased because I'm in real estate, and then, for both of us to talk about it, but there's definitely sound logic behind a lot of the decisions that a lot of people are making in buying a home and all this, but ultimately it's what your goals are, and like how does this help you reach? If it doesn't, then of course don't. So it's just getting that self-awareness and then understanding what tools are available for you. You
right.
know? But that's kind of like my opinion on things, you know. So,
what are you seeing out there right now for, like you said, it's pretty hot. I mean, the multi-unit market, I mean, those homes are getting snatched up pretty quick, I'm assuming.
Super quick. So, of course, you have to look for deals that maybe you have to put a little more work in, like the one that I bought.
Like,
you know,
a rehab-type loan or something like that.
Yep, or something that people just aren't seeing the value in, and getting creative on certain things.
Okay.
But, I mean, a lot of times people do understand, or people do know exactly what they could do. But you'd be surprised, you know,
right,
of what you can find. But you can't just give up. You know, you have to keep going, and sometimes it takes a while. I've had a client like last year. He was looking to get into multifamily, and it took us maybe like 6 to 9 months to find something, just because we did have an offer under contract. We put in multiple offers all the time, you know, all this kind of stuff, and it just does sometimes take a long time, you know, to find something that works. So. And then
you might have to shop in off-peak time of year too. Like, I know Mike from here, he bought his in
like
December, I think,
like
December or January.
That's like the perfect time.
Yeah,
you know,
there's not as many people out looking at places. Obviously, not as much listed usually on the market either, but still a good time of year to maybe find that deal.
Yeah, everybody's kind of too full from turkey, and then they're looking forward to Christmas, you know.
Right.
So,
what are you seeing out there for rents right now? Are those steadily increasing?
Yeah. They've just been steadily increasing for I don't even know how many years, but so some of our rents. Just to give an example, for one of our landlords, he owns a couple fourplexes in northeast Minneapolis. When I first was starting here, it was like maybe 2.5, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And rents were like, I think like $800 or like $825, and right around $1,100 now, just in like 3 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? So depending on the property and area, you can get, you know, an incredible rental increase. But of course, those are maybe areas of transition or, you know. So, but then of course, it's usually an average of like 4% a year or so. Some a little more, maybe some less, depending on the year over year. So. But yeah, the Twin Cities real estate market is always, you know, has been ranked, you know, consistently pretty high. And if people are familiar with like the 2040 plan for Minneapolis and St. Paul, it's kind of like an effort for people to try to reinvigorate the real estate market and provide more housing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I think the steady increase in rents are more or less because of, you know, the housing, like, you know, shortage of housing. Yeah, for sure. So
that plan, tell me, I guess that plan, I heard a little bit about it, but they're hoping to create more housing, right, with that plan in certain areas of Minneapolis. Is it Minneapolis and St. Paul?
Well, I think both cities have a different, it's still like a 2040 quote-unquote plan or whatever, but it's, a lot of it is just, has to do with rezoning.
Okay,
you know,
so there can be apartment complexes and multifamily in certain areas that there can't be right now?
Right, yeah. So like some single-family homes can be turned into a triplex, you know, something like that. So it's just allowing for more the opportunity to address the density that a lot of people are projecting that will be there. But of course, we do have a good amount of population growth, and a lot of corporations are, you know, basing here and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it's going to be growing. So for me, seeing that cities are getting on top of that, and just like the current, of course, just seeing how it is now isn't like a super predictive indicator of what's going to actually happen, right? But the trend does seem to be that, you know, more people will be coming here. Property values will probably be still increasing over time. You know what I mean? So, and therefore rents too. So, if you don't want to, you know, keep paying rent all the time to landlords, I mean,
call André, find a place, right?
Exactly, and call Jared.
We'll see if we can get you the money, unless you're going to buy it with cash.
Right, exactly. Yeah, but you can refi on the back end to get that cash back.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, kind of what's your plan moving forward? Are you going to take a look at maybe in the future trying to expand, get some branches in the future or anything like that?
I think you know, in our industry, probably, you know, number one, focusing on keep expanding my own business. I'm the branch manager there, but I also, you know, lead the branch in sales every year as well. So that's a big driver in revenue for us. So that's probably number one. Number two, you know, we're always looking to expand and grow and get additional loan officers. We would go into, you know, do a satellite office again if it was the
right one.
Yeah, the right fit. So, but that's always tough to tell.
Right.
So a lot of, any person you talk to in sales, usually when you talk to them, they'll tell you whatever they tell you. You got to subtract that by 50% is probably what they actually do, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So those things, just growing my own business and my own brand, and then also growing the branch with some more loan officers as well.
Mm-hmm.
And AMEC overall is growing. AMEC actually purchased a bank last year, so we might be licensed in some additional states coming up here, which could, that could increase our revenue as well. Mm-hmm. Currently, right now, I'm just licensed in Minnesota, Wisconsin, North Dakota, and then I have a license in Florida.
Oh, wow.
Just because I've run into so many deals down, not so many, but like, for example, I have 2 pre-approvals right now where people are moving from Minnesota down to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had that license now for about 5 years, and it comes in handy.
Yeah, it makes sense though.
Yeah,
like it's just cold here.
Yeah, or people, I closed one last month. They were buying a second home down there.
Oh, yeah.
A couple different scenarios this year. People buying second homes down there. So
mm-hmm.
always have that Florida license handy as well.
Yeah, for sure. I might have to get my real estate license in Florida. Look at investing down there.
Yeah. How about yourself? You had talked before we started the podcast that you were overseas and looking at properties kind of in all different types of countries. So interested to hear, what your master plan is, or maybe buying
going
some
forward.
buying. You're gonna have a real estate empire not only in the United States but overseas as well.
Yeah. So of course, like the end goal is to own like apartment buildings all over the world and kind of do similar to what I'm doing now, which is like that house hacking.
Yeah.
But of course, it's going to take a long time, I know. But more or less, getting apartment buildings and hopefully like kind of a high quality condo, maybe some mixed use to where there's like awesome restaurant or like a hot club
mm-hmm.
like on the first floor or something like that, some cool shopping, and then like penthouse suites, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then leave a couple units or maybe for myself or friends or other investors, and then you can just kind of come and go as you please all around the world.
Okay.
So that's kind of like the end goal, and hopping all over the place and whatnot. But I'm sure the vision will change as I keep going. So maybe owning resorts, all that kind of stuff. But who knows?
And you did look at some property last time you were overseas.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
So and a lot of it was speaking with friends when I was in Hong Kong and Singapore.
Okay.
Hong Kong is probably the priciest real estate in the world.
Yeah.
One of my friends bought a 300 square foot condo for $1.3 million US.
So what does that friend do for a living to be able to afford that? And what is the condo? So that condo is no bigger than this room we're in, pretty much, right?
Pretty much, yeah. But it's like a good area of town and everything like that. But that's just kind of like the reality.
Okay.
Of course, they're much higher paid and all that kind of stuff. Than average. But still, it's pretty crazy.
That is nuts.
Yeah, it's nuts. But of course, there are different opportunities and whatnot, and I'm not at that level yet. But So I mean,
well, $1.3 million for a 300 square foot condo.
Yeah.
Did it have a bathroom in it?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
No, it has like almost everything. It's just like a little more efficient.
Right.
So having lived over there myself, I know how it goes. So
kind of like those tiny houses you see on HGTV, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It's pretty much like that. But you'd be surprised how much you can make do with things,
Right. If you don't have it, it's just like over here, our houses sometimes are too big, and then you just have all this stuff that you never use. And I have 3 kids, and our house, there's probably stuff in our house that we don't even know is there, and we've only been there for 3 years. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So
and it's more to clean.
It is, yeah. Yeah, and all the time you see, like if you go to other people's houses, like maybe 30% of the home is left empty, or it's just like a hoarder situation. They have tons of items in there, and it's like just storage.
The patented dining room at the front of a house that never gets used.
Yeah. Some people turn it into like a sitting lounge or something like that.
Ours is like we have one, so but it's a piano. My wife plays the piano quite a bit, so there's piano in there and a couch, but that room doesn't get used a ton, to say the least.
Wow, yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like I wouldn't use it.
Yeah.
if I had a home that had a dining room right in the
front. Couple times
a
year, Thanksgiving and Christmas, right?
Yeah, just the big events.
Yeah, and you're cooking the big meal for everybody.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
André?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, but yeah, more or less, keep on keeping on and keep going, doing that kind of stuff. So, is there any kind of like last minute thoughts for people that are in your network that might be kind of like valuable information for them, or?
I would just say, if you're interested in looking either into purchasing a home, had any questions on that, obviously there's no cost for us to get you the information, sit down with you, run the numbers for you. And, like every other mortgage place out there, interest rates are low right now. So if you have a higher interest rate from the last couple of years, give us a call. My phone number is 612-432-2252, and we can do a free consultation and see if something makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, there's no cost, but it never hurts to look. It's usually, 99% of the time it's the person's largest bill that they have. So if you want to do something, give us a call, and we'd love to help.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, excellent. Well, guys, you know how to contact Jared if you're interested in taking a look at your current situation or
Sure.
Looking forward and everything like that. Thank you guys so much for watching.